You're listening to The Pump Fake.
And welcome into the latest edition of the Pump Fake, everybody. Jarrett Bailey with you as always. Training camps are open all over the NFL. Football's back, and joining me today for one of the best things of the NFL season and training camps opening, it's Almanac season, FTN Football Almanac, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron Schatz. Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Good to see you. Made it through the off season. Made it through the book period, ready to have some training camps. Yeah,
relatively unscathed. We can stop, comparing running backs to like licorice flavors or whatever people do content-wise.
Try to desperately find something to write about in June.
Yeah. That whole just dead period after mandatory camp till now is a drag, but we did make it through. And yeah, like I said, one of the best parts of the year is getting the almanac and everything, and the work that you do along with, Mike Tanier and several other, familiar faces from the Football Outsiders days. It's always a great read, and getting my hands on it, very thankful for you for that. So, we'll dive into that a little bit. But before we do, let everyone know where they can buy the book right now.
Absolutely. The PDF version of the FTN Almanac is at ftnfantasy.com/almanac. And it's got all of our projections, team projections, player projections from Jeff Radcliffe, all of our writing. Mike, you mentioned Brian Knowles, Dan Pizzuta, all the writers you know well. There's also a version on Amazon. You can buy it in a printed form. Just go on Amazon and search for FTN Football Almanac 2025.
And look, whether you're a fan or you work in football like me, it makes you a smarter fan. It makes you a smarter analyst. Absolutely get the book and dive into all 32 teams. And like you said, fantasy projections as well from Jeff. Just a bunch of really good stuff in there. Almost 500 pages of really good football insight in the 2025 edition. So let's start with it. Jalen Carter's on the cover of the book, so I was surprised to see that the Philadelphia Eagles weren't the team in the NFC East with the most projected wins. It's the Washington Commanders. And
surprise.
It took me a little bit by surprise, and I'll tell you why. Looking at their numbers from last year, they were 6th in offensive DVOA, and they were top 10, both pass and rush DVOA, but defensively 23rd. And looking at their pass rushers right now, Von Miller, who is more of a name than I think on-field presence at this point in his career, Dorrance Armstrong, who is fine, but not somebody that you're going to be, as an offensive coordinator, going to be staring at the ceiling at night wondering how you're going to contain him. I like a lot of the things that they have on that side of the ball. I think moving Mike Sainristil inside to nickel permanently is the best thing they could do. But what's Marshawn Lattimore going to look like? Is Trey Amos going to be ready to go as their number 2 guy opposite of him? There's a lot of questions I have about the defensive side for the Commanders. Offensively, I think they'll be good again, but I was surprised to see that they were projected to have more wins than the Eagles. What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, we have their defense as kind of average, which is a little bit better than last year.
Okay.
And we think, Lattimore, if he's healthy, he's very good. If Amos can come in and be good. Like, I agree with you about the pass rush. Like, there's no question. Like, the best pass rusher is an off-ball linebacker, which is Frankie Louvu. They have an easier schedule than the Eagles, which matters because of just who finished first and who finished second in different divisions last year. Right. And we have the Eagles dropping a little bit. I think it's more that we have the Eagles dropping a little bit than that we have the Commanders rising, but we don't have the Eagles dropping that much. I don't think people understand that during the regular season last year, the Eagles did not have a top 10 offense. Now, that's a little bit because you had a couple of games with Jalen Hurts, but even when Jalen Hurts was healthy, think back to November. Nobody was talking about the unstoppable Eagles offense.
No.
In November, the defense was fantastic. But we know that defense, is less consistent from year to year than offense is. We know that they lost more talent than any other defense in the league this offseason. So we have their defense, I think, projected like 5th, 4th something like that. All it takes is for the Eagles to drop from first to fourth or fifth in defense, even if the offense stays the same, plus a harder schedule. And now you kind of favor the Commanders a little bit.
That's fair. And this is going to be doing a little bit of like revisionist history maybe and a lot of what ifs, but should the Lions have defeated Washington and took care of business in the divisional round and faced the Eagles, how different do you think that game goes in terms of, do you think the Eagles still win? And are we having this conversation right now if they would have faced Detroit in the conference championship game?
Given the injuries and the status of the Detroit defense, by the time you got to the end, I think you got to favor the Eagles a little bit over Detroit. Sure. In that game, because the Detroit defense was so torn to pieces by the end of the season. But, that was a big upset. There's no question about it. Detroit was the best team in the NFC in the regular season.
Yeah. All right. When we talk about the Eagles, it feels like for the last 5 years or so, you kind of have to talk about the 49ers. They've had this kind of budding rivalry because of how many playoff games they've played against each other. I was surprised to see how many projected wins they had. And the thing I was actually most surprised about was looking at their DVOA numbers from a year ago. They were a top 10 team in DVOA offensively, 13th defensively, and a very fun stat that was plugged in: of all 11 plus loss teams ever, they were the best per DVOA. So I thought that was a fun little stat. But looking at what they have offensively right now, Brandon Ayuk hurt, Ricky Pearsall hurt, Malik Mustafa done for the year. They're going to be really leaning on Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock at that position at safety. Offensively, there's not a lot that horrifies me looking at the 49ers, but I guess the Kyle Shanahan effect certainly helps.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan still scares everybody, right?
And I assume the schedule factor also plays into that for the 49ers.
Easiest projected schedule of the league. There's no question that is a big part here. Pearsall, I don't think Pearsall's injury lasts into the season. Ayuk's will.
Sure.
McCaffrey should be back. Still strong, the good offensive line. Trent Williams is still there. Dominic Pooney played well last year.
Colton McKivitz is still a big worry, being at right tackle.
Yeah, Kim McKivitz is not that great. The Kyle Shanahan effect is strong. And this team last year, despite all the injuries, was like a top 10 team in DVOA. All they have to be is a little bit better than that with the health, and then the schedule. And I'm a Brock Purdy guy in that I think it matters that he's run the Shanahan offense better than the guys who came before it. Is he really one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in the league without Shanahan? No. But is he definitely better than Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes.
Sure.
Does he matter? I think, is it clear in retrospect he should have been drafted earlier? Yes.
Would you have paid him what they paid him this past offseason?
I don't think they had a choice. I think the problem with quarterbacks is if you get rid of your established starting quarterback, what are you doing?
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
They didn't give him Josh Allen's money.
Right.
We seem to have reached a point now where mid-level starting quarterbacks are getting mid-level money. It's a lot of money because they're quarterbacks in the National Football League, but it's less money than Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are getting.
All right, fair enough. The team I still like the most in this division, though, is the Rams. I think that you look at what they did a season ago, getting within plays of defeating Philadelphia and adding Devontae Adams to that offense. Secondary, I still have big question marks about, but their front seven, very good. What do you make of the Rams coming into this year?
We have their defense regressing.
Yeah.
I think there's real questions about the secondary there. There's always questions about off-ball linebacker, which is a position that they don't. So, the defensive line is good, but I think there's questions about the back. And just because of the natural ebb and flow of defense, we just have their defense regressing. So the offense should be really good. I don't know if Adams is as much of an addition as people think he is. The guy is
really?
33. Yeah, the guy's 33.
He still played well last year, though. Well,
yeah, he played well. But is he people I think are expecting him to come in and beat Devontae Adams from 5 years ago, and he's not going to do that.
I would agree with that. I think having Puka Nacua opposite of him will certainly open up things.
If Puka's healthy the whole year,
fair enough.
Puka Nacua is very, very talented. There's no question about that.
Yeah. And I think I look at it from the perspective too of Devontae being an upgrade from what Cooper Kupp was a year ago as well. So offensively, I think they're going to be very fun, but those questions do linger. If the Cardinals don't make the playoffs this year, sticking with the NFC West, is Kyler Murray playing on a different team in 2026?
I don't remember exactly what his contract looks like to answer
I would have
that
to pull
question.
that up. Yeah.
We do like Arizona this year. We like their defense to improve. So we have Arizona. We actually have them second in the division.
Oh, wow. Okay.
By
That's also surprising.
By 0.1 average wins over the Rams.
Okay. So the Rams in third place in the division then behind Arizona and San Francisco. See, that was something I did not expect.
It's another schedule one. Sure.
Arizona
has an easier schedule than the Rams, even though the Rams come out as better projection. So, I mean, I do think we have Arizona with an average offense. So I think if their defense improves like we think it will, then if Kyler's kind of average, it's still, they're not going to like change horses in midstream there.
Sure.
If they don't win stuff this year, they could replace a lot of people.
That's fair. One more in the NFC before we kind of shift gears over to the AFC. A team I really like is Green Bay. Last year, the things they did with Jordan Love still kind of playing on a gimpy ankle. Fourth in offensive DVOA, seventh in defensive DVOA. I really like what they've done, and bringing in Matthew Golden, I would assume they're going to send one of those other guys away via trade or just outright cut. We'll see. But I do think adding what they hope is a true number one receiver to that offense with a healthier Jordan Love will make a big difference. Big question in the secondary. But Jair Alexander has also only played 14 games over the last 2 years, so they've learned to live without him. Edgerrin Cooper looks like a proven star already. I really like what Green Bay looks like coming into this year. I picked them to win the division. I know that your projections don't say that, but they're a team that I really like.
Yeah, very young. We have them declining a little bit. We had them very high last year. They were like third overall in DVOA last year. So we have them declining a little bit. We may have them declining too. I agree with you. They are very strong. You know, we really like Detroit with the better health on defense. So I would think more strong wild card contender. But, I mean, Green Bay is definitely a very good team with a lot. I mean, there's a lot of places where, like, if only they had a star at this position. What they have is a lot of very good players without stars, like superstars. Like, there's no pass rusher that's like the guy. And there's no wide receiver that's like the guy. And Aaron Nagler told me he doesn't think that the Packers are going to feed Matthew Golden that much that early, that he would be like, he's the wide receiver one now. Here's the rookie. And that's just not how they tend to use rookies.
That's fair. I would also say, though, too, and I guess ask the question because I saw you talking about it with Mina about the Gerard Mayo stuff in New England. How much does DVOA, or if any, take into account that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are both gone?
It does take into account. Normally, when you have new coordinators with the system slightly changed, you do take a step back, everything else being equal. So it is accounting for that in the Detroit. Even though the Detroit projection is the best in the conference, it is accounting a little bit for the fact that they've changed coordinators. It's hard to know exactly how much you should account, but that does account.
One thing that you told me that really has stuck with me over the past couple of years is when looking at a team, if they have what is basically a rookie quarterback, then you can't over project them. The Minnesota Vikings have what is basically a rookie quarterback. I know that they went on this magical run last year and won 14 games. I'm on the boat of, I think they're not only going to take a step back, but I can't really put a number on them until I know how good McCarthy is. They are one of the more like albatross teams in the NFL coming into this year. I just don't know what to make of them until I see. We also
have their defense taking a step back. They were very dependent on turnovers last year, and we have their defense taking a step back. So, I mean, we still have them as an average team. Remember that whole division has hard schedules because of who they play, plus they play each other. So all four teams in the NFC North rank in the top 7 in projected schedule strength.
And that's not good. I mean, even in the back half of last year, I mean, that defense wasn't horrible, but you could see a clear discrepancy from like weeks 1 through 7. And
yes, they weren't as good in the second half of the year as they were in the first half. And the thing that I said about the Vikings last year is, I said Brian Flores is walking on water. I said, because there's no one on this defense where you're like, that's a top 10 player at his position.
Right.
And I mean, no disrespect to Van Ginkel and Greenard, and there's good players there, but there is nobody there that you're like, that's a top 10 player at his position. I don't even think you would say that Van Ginkel is a top 10 edge rusher, like as talented as he is.
Yeah. And do you think that he is a guy? I mean, obviously everything that happened in Miami and then the lawsuit and everything, but does he get another head coaching opportunity if he continues to do the job that he's doing right now?
I would hope so, but I don't know about the lawsuit, and I don't know about his relationship with Tagovailoa and the question of whether he can get along with offensive players.
Right. That's fair. That's completely fair. Let's talk about the Bears while we're talking about the NFC North. Ben Johnson obviously going there. I know that Caleb Williams kind of got overshadowed because of the year that Jayden Daniels had, but you look at his numbers, only threw 6 interceptions, 20 touchdowns amidst all of that chaos with Eberflus and all the rumored stuff that happened behind the scenes.
5,000 sacks.
It was a lot of sacks. Yeah.
I may be exaggerating. It may be an exaggeration.
But they completely revamped that unit. They extended Ryan Poles, which felt odd, but sure, good for Ryan Poles. What do you make of? I think it's a very low bar that they have to clear this year. Do you think that they clear the bar from what it was?
A lot depends on the clock in Caleb Williams' head, right? We talk about the improved offensive line, but if the clock in Caleb's head isn't better, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Sacks are a quarterback stat. They're not only a quarterback stat. I feel like some people in the analytics community get a little excited about that idea. And they're like, offensive lines don't matter at all. It's all the quarterback. No. It's a combination, but it's more a quarterback stat than it is an offensive line stat. So it's about the clock in his head. And also their defense. We talk about like, does Washington have pass rushers? Does Chicago have pass rushers other than Montez Sweat?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Deo, I'm going to mispronounce his name.
I don't know how to say it either. Don't worry.
Indianapolis, and then like some dudes that you've never heard of. Like they don't really have pass rushers.
Right. And I like some of the pieces that they have on the defense. Edmonds at linebacker is good. The secondary has some fun young pieces that they've acquired.
Why am I blanking now on the cornerback? The very
Kyler Gordon?
Sorry, what?
Is it Kyler Gordon?
No, the other guy.
The other guy. Oh, who the hell is?
He's very, very good.
Yeah,
I'm blanking on his name right now.
Let's pull it up because I'll feel like we disrespected somebody because I can't think of his name either. It's not Tyreek Stevenson, is it?
No.
I don't think it's him. Hold on. Let's get it pulled up real quick. Let's not disrespect who this is. I feel so bad right now. It is
Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson, yes.
Very good.
Sorry, Jalen Johnson.
I'm sorry, Jalen, and I knew there were 2 J's in there. Yeah.
Yes. So, like secondary-wise, they've got guys there. But yes, it certainly does depend on what the pass rush looks like, and if you're able to just key in on Montez Sweat, not worry about anything else. Offensively, you can probably feel a little bit better about playing the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, we have them as an above-average team with a hard schedule. I mean,
sure.
Welcome to the NFC North, right?
If they were in the NFC South, I'd feel great about them.
The other thing is, look, we don't know. Ben Johnson, we think he's a genius. We don't know for sure. We have never seen him with a team other than the Lions. And we don't know how he'll take to all the other aspects of the head coaching job besides designing an offense. We know he's very good at designing and calling an offense, but there's a lot more that goes into a head coaching job. And it's why there are a lot of very successful coordinators who fail as head coaches, or he could be really successful. We just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who thought the Adam Gase hire at the time was a great hire, and we know how that worked out. I don't think it'll be as bad as that. It would be hard to be as bad as what the Adam Gase Jets were, but, we get the point.
But, I mean, like Norv Turner, right? Great offensive coordinator, not a good head coach.
Fair enough. Let's go to speaking of Norv Turner, perfect transition to the Chargers, 7.8 projected wins. And I think
we're down on them.
I think that's perfectly fine because, I've talked about it with plenty of people, our mutual friend, Matt Verderam. Why should we care about the Chargers? I feel like if this was 1996, I would love the Chargers. They're built to win in that era where, they signed Najee Harris, who, by the way, we'll see when we see him, I guess, of the fireworks accident. But they signed Najee Harris and then immediately draft a running back in the first round when they have a clear need at receiver. Mike Williams retires, and now they're left basically where they were last year with a bunch of nothing around Herbert, and I just can't find a reason to even remotely care about this team.
A bunch of nothing around Herbert and Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey is not in the nothing. He's in that. He's in the good. He's very good. But yeah, the other receivers are and I mean Trey Harris. I don't know. Second round pick could be really good. Who knows? Hampton, very talented, right? But running backs in the first round. I'm an analytics guy. I'm not going to be in favor of it. Offensive line, talented. Got some questions in the middle. Joe Alt, fantastic at right tackle. Slater, left tackle, very good. Harbaugh wants to play the old school. We've got the defense regressing. They didn't really add people. I think we may be wrong about the defensive regressing if Jesse Minter has superpowers, right? Like a lot of last year's improvement was Jesse Minter calling a good defense. Can he do it for 2 years? I don't know. Again, defense is less consistent and harder to predict than offense. Can Tarheeb still play as well as he did last year when cornerback performance is so inconsistent and he was not like a first-round pick or something? I don't know. So that's why we have the Chargers dropping.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me is the offense, where it's the Herbert and McConkey show and a bunch of just guys. Who's another receiver on the roster outside of Trey Harris? I frankly
Quentin Johnston.
Oh, of course, yeah, I forgot Quentin Johnston.
And then you're like Darius Davis and Jalen Rager and a fifth-round rookie,
couple former TCU guys.
Lambert Smith.
I believe he went to Penn State. If I had to,
I don't know who that is. Yeah, he's a fifth-round pick.
Okay, I'm pretty. No, I think he might have been the Auburn guy, but I want to say he's
an Auburn guy.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of question marks there. Herbert's awesome, but I do think he might be a guy like similar to like a Matthew Stafford, where we don't know how truly great he is unless he leaves and goes somewhere else.
I mean, listen, I'm stuck on in one ear. I have Mike Tanier saying, "Look, Herbert's never done anything. He's, like wake me up when Herbert really wins." Mm-hmm. And in the other ear, I have people like Derek Klassen who are like, Herbert is clearly the fifth best quarterback in the league.
And I think usually the truth is right in the middle.
Reality falls somewhere in between, but there is a little bit of, okay, do something. Poke. Come on.
I agree. When you're up 27 points in a playoff game, I know it's not all your fault, but you got to win that game. When the Texans are begging you to win a playoff game last year and maybe like one of the worst playoff games ever, you got to win that game. So I do understand. He's dropped in my rankings personally. He's still like a top 10 guy, but I completely understand where the pushback has come from. So we'll see. I don't see them having that big of a year. Denver, 9.5 projected wins.
We really like Denver's defense.
Defense is going to be very good.
Strong. They were not overly dependent on turnovers last year.
My question though falls with the offense. Is Bo Nix going to do that again? Is it going to be like a Mac Jones regression? I don't think it'll be that because he has Sean Payton on the sidelines. But outside of Cortland Sutton, there's not a lot to love there. There's Devon Vele, Marvin Mims, who are fine. I think they drafted Pat Bryant out of Illinois. So we'll see. But outside of Cortland Sutton, I don't think there's any proven skill position guys.
That offensive line was fantastic in ESPN's tracking metrics last year. Number 1 in run block win rate.
Wow.
Yet they were like 26th in run DVOA because the running backs were so bad at getting through those holes that were made for them. All of a sudden now, new running backs, man, that should be an improvement. I mean, do I think Bo Nix can do what he did last year? No, I'm going to bet he's going to take a little step back. Is he going to take a Mac Jones step back? Probably not.
That would be a little harsh, yeah.
And defense, again, looks really good, not overly dependent on turnovers last year.
And they add Jahdae Barron opposite of Pat Surtain as well. So I really like what that defense
good young guys there like Jonah Ellis. So if they have injuries, there's depth.
Yeah. Zach Allen and Nick Benito both coming back did Zach Allen?
Zach Allen was so good last year.
Very underrated player. They have a lot of
all the Zachs, Zach Allen, Zach Sealer, all the Zachs underrated.
All the Zachs underrated. I think somebody coined the term anonymous crush for the Broncos defense last year, which I thought was fun because nobody really knew anybody outside of Pat Surtain.
Pat Surtain and some dudes. No one knows what anybody else's name is. That's right.
Yeah. The other division projected winner that I was very surprised about. I shouldn't say very surprised because I've been dipping my toe and coming back on this team, but seeing your projections, I think I'm going to dive all the way in and say, you know what, the Jaguars are going to win the AFC South and I'm in. Let's do it.
I mean, we have it close. We have it close with the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the Texans are stuck in somewhat of the same place that the Eagles are stuck in, where defense is less consistent than offense.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't think the Houston offense will get that much better. And their defense will probably be worse just because it was so good. I think they were number 2 last year. Just because it was so good last year, their defense will probably be worse this year. And then the package is very average together. And then if the Jaguars with a little bit better defense and a little bit better offense with Liam Cohen calling the plays, get a little bit better, now the Jaguars become a slight favorite to win the division.
And, the last time that Trevor Lawrence was completely healthy, they won the division, won a playoff game, gave Kansas City a handful in Arrowhead. The last 2 years, I mean, they were 8-3 at one point in 2023 before Trevor Lawrence suffered a CVS receipt of injuries. And then last year, a bunch of people were checked out. He gets hurt again. I think with a completely healthy Trevor Lawrence, upgraded in the defense, put Jerry Jones in the secondary at nickel to help Tyson Campbell out. Like, this is a team that you can talk me into. They've got good edge rushers. I can be talked into the Jaguars winning the AFC South.
It's tough because the Jaguars are in a smaller market and they don't get a lot of attention. But they are maybe the most interesting team this year because of Travis Hunter, plus the difference between what Lawrence has been the last couple of years and what we think he can be, plus Liam Cohen. Like, that is really interesting storylines right there.
How high are you on Liam Cohen, or how high are your projections in terms of taking them
the same
from
thing
what
as
they
Ben
were last
Johnson
year?
You don't know. You can't put in a projections that he was good at his last job because you don't know what that means for the next job.
Fair.
It is a new system. All other things being equal, teams tend to take a little bit of a step back with the new system that is incorporated into their projection.
Right.
But you would think if he unlocked Baker Mayfield that he could unlock Trevor Lawrence, especially with Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter as the receivers.
Right. Let's talk about the AFC North. No team has won the division 3 years in a row since division realignment in 2001. The Baltimore Ravens are projected to do so. I think head to toe, you can make the argument that the Ravens have the best roster in the NFL. When it comes to Cincinnati, they have 3 guys and 49 others they're going to be very much tasked with doing a lot of heavy lifting again. The Steelers, I think personally, like, they won 10 games a year ago, and I think they got better. So I would probably put them right around that.
Yeah, we do have them declining, but I fully admit that we may not be able to fully account for the magic of Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, that's another thing. I know a lot of people every year will tell me, this is going to be the year. But if he won 10 games with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, I have a hard time believing he won't do it this year. So I don't think I'm going to bet on them to win the division, but I wouldn't be surprised if some magic took place like Minnesota last year, where they just win a bunch of games that no one really expects them to. They have talent. It's just a matter of the perception of them right now being like, LOL, 10-7, 9-8, never going to get over that.
For people who don't follow the DVOA numbers at FTN Fantasy, our numbers think that the Ravens have been one of the greatest teams ever the last 2 years, like ever in the regular season. And their playoff losses have been somewhat shocking. And so, of course, they're number one in our projections. Again, not in wins, but in DVOA, because they have a hard schedule and Buffalo has an easy schedule. So Buffalo is number one in wins. But of course, I can't, we have looked at Baltimore. What ties together the 3 teams that DVOA absolutely loves that couldn't win in the playoffs, 2019, 2023, and 2024? And unless you're going to either say Lamar Jackson can't win in the playoffs, or you're going to say Harbaugh can't win in the playoffs, which we know isn't true because he won a Super Bowl, then the answer is nothing. Nothing links those two. They were different teams. Last year's team was all offense. The team before that, more defense. Like the 2019 team, Jackson ran more. Last year, more of a pocket passer. Like, it's penalties wise. Not all 3 teams were not all high in penalties. Some of them were low in penalties. Some of them were high, but they're different than each other. There's nothing that, unless you think Lamar Jackson has whatever the opposite of magic is in the playoffs. And it's my belief that players who don't get it done in the playoffs don't get it done until the year they finally do. There are a lot of instances in history, in other sports too, whether it's Peyton Manning, whether it's Jason Tatum, whether it's Barry Bonds in 2002, of guys who couldn't do it in the playoffs, who then have a year where they do. The problem the Ravens have is that there's another team exactly like that.
Yeah. And they've ran into both Kansas City and Buffalo on 3 separate occasions in the playoffs. They haven't won any of those games. And if they fail to do that again this year, I feel like the perception and the rightful perception around them is, okay, it's going to continue to be, we'll see.
That's the thing. Okay, by DVOA, The best 5-year period since 1978 for a team that never made the Super Bowl is the Buffalo Bills of the last 5 years. The second best 5-year period is the Baltimore Ravens of the last 5 years. They can't both. First of all, maybe neither of them gets past Kansas City, but also they can't both get past. One of them has to not make it to the Super Bowl. At least one has to not make it.
Absolutely absurd numbers there. When doing this, was there a team that you were surprised that we haven't talked about, either was projected fewer wins or higher wins that you didn't see coming?
We talked about Arizona, that we like Arizona a little bit. We talked about Jacksonville. I think Vegas is a little higher than people give them credit for. Look, they added a real quarterback, man. Like,
what does DVOA say about Geno Smith, by the way? Because I feel like I'm lower on him than the consensus seems to be.
He's good, not great.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
he's like the 13th or something best quarterback in the league, roughly. I think that's accurate.
Which is a large upgrade over Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Fair enough.
Yes. Plus Malcolm Kuntz back on defense, and hopefully a full year from Christian Wilkins. I was not as surprised, but Rivers McCown, who wrote the AFC South chapters, was very surprised when I sent him the projections, and we had the Colts solo.
What were the numbers for the Colts? I hadn't read the Colts chapter.
We have the Colts at 27th.
Oh, okay. See, that doesn't necessarily surprise me, considering they've got Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson under center.
But they were better than that last year with Anthony Richardson as the quarterback.
I suppose.
So it's weird that we have them taking a step back, but we do. We have them taking a further step back, and he was surprised by that. So I think if you're a Colts fan, you're not going to be happy and that's a little bit where the Jacksonville thing comes from, is that, who's going to challenge Houston? We think it's going to be Jacksonville, not Indianapolis.
I love it. And tell everybody else one more time where they can get the book right now available, the FTN Football Almanac.
Roughly 480 pages, all the teams, film watching, all kinds of intense stats, how often they played man and zone last year, DVOA in different situations, all the fantasy projections. Jeff Radcliffe is an award-winning fantasy projector. All the writers you remember from Football Outsiders, like Mike Tanier and Dan Pizzuta, Brian Knowles, Cale Clinton, Alex Blickel from FTN, Robert Weintraub. And you can get it at ftnfantasy.com/almanac, or search Amazon for FTN Football Almanac 2025.
And like I said at the start of the show, it'll make you a smarter fan. It'll make you a smarter analyst. Absolutely go and get it for whatever your purpose is. If you're more of a fantasy person, definitely worth the buy. And again, if you just want to be a smarter fan, smarter analyst, get the book. It's definitely worth your time, worth your money. And while we're here, let's talk about a quick plug for the top 30 quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. All 3 parts are now available on SB Nation. Aaron was part of the panel that was assembled to rank those quarterbacks. Really proud of how it turned out. Thank you again, by the way, for doing that and being part of it. I really love how it turned out.
I mean, the toughest thing about it, and I think everybody agrees, the toughest thing about it was figuring out how to handle the guys whose careers overlapped.
If I had $1 for every person who texted me, emailed me, whatever about Johnny Unitas, I'd be a rich man.
Right, because the fact is you were only measuring the last 4 years of Unitas' career, right? So, but otherwise it was fun, and it's always fun trying to figure out where the current guys stand in relation with the historical guys. And plus, I love giving Roger Staubach his props. He was, my numbers now go back to 1978, and it really has helped me realize how good Staubach was. He was so good in 78 and 79 once they liberalized the passing rules. He was kind of far ahead of everybody else, and then just retired.
Yeah, I was going to say a very abrupt retirement.
Yeah, I mean, his career started late, and it didn't end early compared to other quarterbacks of his era, but it ended early compared to how well he was playing when he retired.
And like I said, the list was very rewarding and fulfilling for me to put together and do it with a bunch of people who I've, grew up reading or watching and now, have these, good friendships with. And you are very much one of them. And I appreciate you for being a part of it. And thanks for coming on here to plug the Almanac. And everybody should absolutely go and buy it. And while you're at it, go read all 3 parts of the top 30 quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. Aaron, I appreciate you very much. Looking forward to going through this season with you, and can't wait to have you back on during the season.
Absolutely. My stuff will be on ftnfantasy.com all year long, and ESPN, of course, I write for as well. So you'll find my stuff there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Aaron. And thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe. If you are listening as a podcast, leave a review. And we will be back throughout the rest of training camp and the rest of the season with multiple shows per week right here on the Pump Fake.